my research topic, I chose to research the effects of social media usage on envy and comparison within teenagers and younger adolescents. When I was researching this topic, I was actually able to find a great deal of information, as I'm sure this is a very popular topic among the internet at the moment and among researchers. What I discovered was that there was a wide variety of positive and negative viewpoints on this topic. And from the research articles I found, I discovered that most of the views were actually fairly negative. However, I will go through some of the different viewpoints that I found from various researchers. The first piece of research that I found relating to my topic is from a PhD in Thailand named Karyan Sukmankal. He was actually a member of the National Institute for Development Administration. He decided to survey around 500 different teenagers around the age of 16. He gave them a certain type of survey that he developed to determine whether or not they felt social media usage was relating to feelings of envy and social comparison. He also divided them up into two groups: those who specified that their parents constantly compared them to other children or their siblings, and also a group in which children felt that they were in a social circle that constantly compared themselves to one another. He did find that there was, in fact, a positive relationship between social media usage and envy and social comparison among both types of groups, and that he found that it was actually stronger in the groups which parents compared them to other children and their siblings. Now, in this research article, he does mention that there are some positive benefits to social media usage, especially in social settings. He often found that people who use social media felt as if they were more involved in their community, and in some cases actually raised their self-esteem because of this positive connection that they had with the others around them and the constant immersion in their social circle. Now, apart from that, the negative results that he gathered from the tests showing that envy and social comparison was in fact related to social media usage was undeniable. The next article that I discovered was written by Sophia Bradley, who works in the Department of Psychology at the University of Pittsburgh. She focused her research more on the idea of women comparing their body image to things that they might find on social media and the negative effects of envy or, once again, social comparison that this might have on the individual. She conducted research with some various women at her college and asked them to rate their feelings on certain questions on a scale of 1 to 7, 1 being never and 7 being always. The data that she recovered showed that most women often felt scared or concerned about pictures being taken of them, and they also showed that they often felt as if they were putting in extra effort whenever they were taking pictures that they thought might be posted on social media. She also found that around 3/4 of women often experience some sort of social media related body shaming or body confidence issues based on their experiences. The next article that I discovered primarily focused on adolescents' own views of social media as a whole and how this affects them. What I discovered from this article, written by Michelle O'Reilly from the University of Leicester, was a few different things. She talked about in her research that she had discovered from the variety of focus groups that she did with children ages 11 to 18 that overall, the adolescents felt as if social media could be a threat to their mental well-being. And she discovered a few thematic elements throughout the different responses that she gathered. One was that it could cause mood and anxiety disorders. The second one was that it was a platform for cyberbullying. And the third was that it could lead to some sort of addiction. These were all things that she had heard from the children that she interviewed and did not come from her own mind. Next, I looked at the Child Mind Institute website to determine what they thought about social media usage and its effect on an adolescent's mental health. They used various examples of students or younger children comparing themselves to others on social media. One example they used was of a story of a girl named Sarah who was looking at all of her friends and seeing their amazing pictures and posts and then talking about how everyone else's life seemed so perfect. They also used an analogy that was given at Stanford by a few researchers that is called the duck analogy, which talks about how you see a duck gliding effortlessly across the water, but while you might just see that, underneath the surface, its feet are working frantically to try and keep it afloat. This website's view on social media usage among adolescents was widely negative. They mainly believed that it was causing a great deal of social comparison among different children of different ages, and that it was quite unhealthy for them to be comparing themselves to others. They even gave examples of a few different people who had died while trying to perfect their perfect social media image. The next article that I discovered was written by Emily Weinstein, who is a Harvard School of Education graduate. In her research, she gave out surveys to 568 adolescents and then had personal interviews with 26 of them. The goal of her research was to determine why people use social media and how they believed social media usage was affecting their mental health. Throughout the surveys and interviews, she discovered that there were four main categories that could be divided up as to why people use social media. She found that these four were relational interactions, self expression, inner driven exploration, and browsing. She also discovered that mental well being, as opposed to what some of the other research articles I have researched have stated, cannot be divided up into simply good or bad. She found that people viewed this more as a seesaw, and that in some cases social media usage was a positive experience, and in others it was a negative. This was quite different from most of the articles that I had found so far, because most of them took a very strong stance on it either being positive or negative for a person's well being. However, what Emily found was that it could have either or on them. In conclusion, most of the articles that I found took a rather negative standpoint on the subject of social media and its relation to envy and social comparison among teens and adolescents. I discovered that most of them had data that did actually support their viewpoints, and they continued to talk about how it was an issue that women were comparing their bodies to one another, or that children were seeing the lives of others and believing that theirs should be like that, or that they weren't good enough. There was also a very distinct amount of data stating that children believed that social media was causing problems with their mental health, or that it could be used as a platform for cyberbullying or other forms of comparison that could negatively affect their mental well being.